Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to the lost map that changed American travel forever. This is a very niche type of video. I'm not really sure. I mean, it says 1856, so this is how far back we go. I don't really know what to expect from this, but I'm assuming it's going to be a pretty fun little historic sort of reaction. But yeah, let's check this out and see, I guess, how this affected things that happened today, like American travel, I guess, involving cars. Maybe it's to do with like building the roads and stuff. I'm not sure. But yeah, we're going to check this out. Hopefully going to enjoy. And yeah, let's jump into this.
In 1856, a man named William Rand was operating a printing shop in Chicago when he met an Irish immigrant named Andrew McNally. The two quickly became partners, and after roughly a decade of providing printing services for the Chicago Tribune newspaper, they decided to establish their own publishing company named Rand McNally in 1868. While Rand McNally would print and publish many things, its map division would quickly become its most profitable. With more Americans settling out west, more Americans were making long cross-country trips. As businesses followed, maps to them were in higher demand. By adopting a newer contemporary technique of wax engraving rather than traditional metal plating to print their maps, they were able to better mass-produce their maps to meet that demand. While they were hardly the only major map company in America at the time, they would quickly become the largest private map company in America thanks to both their railroad maps and their quick adoption of mass-producing road maps.
Oh, so it's going to be to do with the rail. Okay. I guess American travel, I wouldn't really associate rail as... I guess actually in these times it was probably the most important form of travel. Now it's just cars, but in these times rail was what helped people move again from east to west and to find jobs and to do these things. But yeah.
While cars hadn't taken over America yet in the early 20th century, Rand McNally saw what was coming. Just like with the rail companies from before, the oil companies at gas stations made similar deals with Rand McNally to give out their maps to traveling drivers who stopped to fill up at their gas stations. As highways began to develop across the United States, mapping them became important, but there was no system in place to label these routes. Rand McNally employee John Brink in 1916 came up with an idea where he would make agreements with Midwestern towns along the major highways. In this agreement, Rand McNally would provide number signs along those highways at their cost. Then Rand McNally's road maps would label these highways on their maps with the numbers on these signs. Not only would this just be a generally useful idea for travelers, it would also make Rand McNally's road maps the top road maps to buy.
Damn.
For this idea, John Brink was given a bonus of $100, which in today's money is around $2,882. I mean, considering how much money Rand McNally would make off of these road maps, that's still pretty small, but then again, I certainly wouldn't complain about receiving that much money for just a random good idea, so good on you, John. Rand McNally would release their first map with this numbering system in 1917, starting a series of road maps that would be known as their Auto Trails series. They quickly became popular, which would influence governments to adopt a similar system. In 1918, Wisconsin would adopt a similar system for their state, becoming the first state to do so. Some states would make deals with Rand McNally for purchasing road signs at large so that they could place them along their state's routes, and this system was referred to as the Blazed Trail system. By 1926, nearly a decade later, Rand McNally claimed that they had manufactured over 1 million signs that were used across 50,000 miles of roads. The oil companies running the gas stations along those roads were now ordering Rand McNally maps by the hundreds of thousands.
Jesus.
And Rand McNally continued to cement its status as America's main map maker, at least for road maps. And this highway numbering system was so successful that in 1926, the American Association of State Highway Officials, working with the U.S. Department of Agriculture, officially adopted a numbering system that was to be used nationwide going forward. Originally, I had planned to take that story, dive deeper, and stretch it out for a whole video, because what a cool thing in the history of cartography, right? Random idea for maps that was so successful it became national policy and an essential element of America's entire highway system. But one aspect of this historical moment in map making bothered me. Did you notice how I never showed that first 1917 map that changed the history of American travel forever? That's because, strangely, I couldn't find it anywhere. Obviously, there are plenty of events in history that we just don't have pictures of, but it's not like the maps from 100 years ago are that hard to find. There are plenty of old maps from Rand McNally, National Geographic, C.S. Hammond, and plenty of other companies that have been preserved, photocopied. especially given the internet where there are entire websites dedicating to archiving images of stuff like this. The fact I couldn't find this historically significant map anywhere was kind of shocking. So what do we know about this first map? It's Rand McNally, it's a road map, and it's made in 1917. What is it a road map of? At first, the only thing I could find was Wikipedia mentioning that it was a road map of the city of Peoria in Illinois. However, there's no citation for this. When searching for this, there's a weird URL of the Rand McNally website, but with only 2 W.
Is this some sort of conspiracy or something? What's going on with these maps? The map community's freaking me out. But I mean, I guess it's probably quite easy to have lost it. It's over 100 years ago.
Instead of 3, the preview on their page on their company's history confirms it's Peoria, Illinois. However, the URL does not work, and when you add the 3rd W, the history page you get does not mention this at all.
Oh,
That's
damn.
weird. Considering I had nothing else to go off of, I decided to search for this 1917 Rand McNally Peoria, Illinois map. Of course, Google has been rather terrible with its search engine lately, so after a basic Google search yielded no worthwhile results, I tried elsewhere. No Wikipedia article on Rand McNally or the highway system or any similar articles had an image of this Peoria map. Its cousin website, the Wikimedia Commons, which has tons of archived maps, also didn't appear to have this map. Okay, the basic searches failed. Time to get more serious. Next, I tried the website Old Maps Online, a website that lets you choose different areas of the planet and overlay archived maps from periods.
There's a website for old maps. This is like my wet dream. I love maps, but a website focused on old maps would be incredible. And I guess you can go country to country as well.
As old as several centuries ago. I zoomed into the area and narrowed the time frame to 1917, and they didn't have it. Next, I tried the David Rumsey Map Collection, a very large archive of old maps that lets you filter through tags, including for specific companies, years, locations. Even simply simplifying it to Rand McNally Map 1917 did not bring up this Peoria map. I then tried looking through some of the sources I had planned to use for the original video idea to see if they either had the map somewhere and I missed it, or that they had a citation for the map or a source where I could find it. That also ran dry. The source that had the most information and research was an article from Imago Mundi, which is basically the biggest scholarly periodical about the history of maps. Their 45th volume from 1993 contains an article from James Ackerman about the Blaze Trails program in great detail, across 12 pages. It has a lot of citations, but the specific part that mentions the first maps of 1917 does not have its own citation. While the article does reference a couple of early maps that were said to be in the style of Rand McNally used for their Auto Trail series, none of them are the Peoria map or even from 1917. It did have this 1918 Auto Trails map of the Indiana-Ohio area, and it certainly does show what the Peoria map would have looked like in a sense, so if you want the general idea, there you go. But it's disappointing that the one map that started it all is nowhere to be found, at least from what I can find. I sent an email to Rand McNally, but at least at the point where I'm editing this video, I did not get any response, other than that they had received my ticket. So I'm not really expecting much. I also read that Rand McNally, since shifting its focus to its GPS services in recent years, had donated...
So Rand McNally is still a big company when it comes to like maps or GPS or whatever. Like, I guess just basically forms of travel. It's still got a big like sort of grip hold in terms of that aspect of that business side of things. Because if they're still like one of the bigger companies or whatever, helping car travel and stuff, that's pretty crazy because they've been going for a good 150 years now.
A large amount of its older map collections to the Newbury, which is this giant cultural institute and archive in Chicago. Using the web search of their archive on their website, I still couldn't find it. But I also sent them an email about the map anyway, just in case they had any possible information or leads. I did get an email from them confirming they didn't have it in their collection, and they said that they did not have all of the Rand McNally maps that were out there. So what now? Well, there's a few possibilities. One, the 1917 Peoria map or a copy of it is in some random archive somewhere, and I just haven't stumbled upon it yet. Considering how many archives ranging from museums to public libraries to universities are scattered throughout the country, this is definitely a possibility. I'm not able to search everything nor travel to every archive, so this would be a disappointing and exhausting map hunt. If anything, it's kind of surprising that such an important map would be so obscurely hidden anyway. Option 2. The map isn't archived because it actually isn't important. The Ackerman article did state that the initial 1917 maps were considered experimental releases, so while the Peoria map would technically be first, perhaps maps from the 1918 onwards releases would be more significant, in the same way that the first edition of a book has more value than the rough draft. Option 3. The map is truly lost, the originals are long gone, and any copies are nowhere to be found. This is technically possible. Just because something is only 107 years old does not mean it's guaranteed to still be around. Considering the significance of this map, it would be sad if that's the case. Option 4. The map doesn't exist. Companies lie a lot, and making up a story about how you inspired the highway numbering system with your ingenuity is certainly a way to build your brand and sell more maps. Even now in 2024, Rand McNally is still bragging about this, so it clearly means something to them. There are examples.
Maybe they're just making it all up then. That seems pretty possible. I mean, if the map's not anywhere to be found.
Of companies falsifying or exaggerating their origins all the time, perhaps the most famous example being McDonald's, with Ray Kroc, its first CEO, claiming that he was the founder and that the first one was in Illinois, despite it actually having been founded by Maurice and Richard McDonald in California. Even though they've literally made an entire movie about this, it's still a common misconception today. Perhaps Rand McNally made their first maps with this numbering system at some point around 1917-1918, but they said 1917 so they could be just before Wisconsin implemented their numbered highway system. If you really want to get conspiratorial, maybe that's why their website's company history page no longer mentions that story. Although I personally doubt it's made up. I don't see what the reason would be. Even if they weren't first, they clearly had a head start with all the deals they were making with the Midwestern cities and states at the time. They still would have been very successful. But I suppose this is all technically a possibility. If anyone watching does know where I can find the map...
This is probably his best way in finding what happened, isn't it? This video. I mean, he's so obsessed with this 1917 map. I'll try emailing the Peoria Historical Society. Time to get CGP Grey to pursue the wild goose chase. But yeah, the lost map. I mean, it would be cool if it was found from this video. I don't know the chance of that, but it would be pretty cool if they managed to actually find it. Might be worth checking out the catalogue in Illinois State Library. Yeah. But yeah, I guess if you know about this, or if you have the map, maybe you can help. But yeah, do you know about this? Like, this lost map, did you know about this map and the importance of it? Is this like a well-known thing, or is this just sort of a very niche thing that you're probably going to have no idea about? I mean, I don't know, maybe some of you will. There's definitely certain people that have like a good knowledge on these kinds of things. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this reaction. Until next time, like, subscribe.